Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Moen After Dark here on the College Football Mafia Network. I am, of course, Moen, joined by my co-host from CFB Express, Rock and Rant. For the first time in a long time, what was it, about 2016, 2017, Ohio State and Miami last played?
It is, and of course the epic, legendary throwback to the BCS era playoff game for all the marbles. This won't be for all the marbles, but I think it's going to be wildly entertaining, good, bad, or indifferent.
Lots of storylines here. Miami has never beaten Ohio State, but Ohio State has also never beaten Mario Cristobal as a head coach. So, um,
And that
should
ref is
be
dead from 2002, or just dead to me. I'm not sure.
okay. Um, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about all the first round games. I want to say hello to everybody who came in here. Uh, thank everybody who came in here on a Sunday night. Buckshot Kid was first. He says, "Oh hey Mo" and "Oh hey Rock."
What's up, Buckshot Kid?
BSK. Big Lubbock is first, and then Conundrum claps back and says, "You'll be second after you play the Ducks in the Orange Bowl."
Man, it seems like the people who have rooting interests are a lot of them are first in tonight. I wonder why.
Well, Conundrum's an Iowa guy, so
Yeah, but
maybe
he's
it's just
he's a masquerading
yeah,
in
maybe
some
it's just
form.
a bird.
Is Conundrum? Are you going like all SEC on us? You're going to start chanting Big Ten in the background?
Big. Uh, Evil Badger 72, Ryan Willie. Thanks for the super chat, Ryan. Can anyone tell Joe Tessitore, and Jesse Palmer that the G5 is part of the college football playoff, and it was the only game the SEC won that wasn't two SEC teams? Yeah, the G5 are legally obligated to be there. At least one. At least one.
Yeah, we can get into that. But I would like to remind every single ESPN host that the reason why the G5 schools, which are all part of the FBS, this is the FBS playoffs, the reason why they don't have their own playoff is because your network, among others, won't pay them enough overall revenue relative to what they get from being, if you want to say, a sacrificial lamb in the playoffs as part of the playoff corporation that you guys paid for. So before any more ESPN guys talk about what they should or shouldn't do with the G5 and they should do their own thing and make money, please at least ask your boss how much money they'd be willing to pay the G5, soon to be G6, to do their own thing.
And explain it to the voice of college football. The G5 conferences are in the CFP contract. I don't really watch Mark Rogers, so I haven't seen what's going on there. I just try and keep up with Greg as best I can. Talking to him a little bit today about some stuff. Let's give you a little Wisconsin song here, if it'll play. Stephen Vitt says, "Do I feel bad in saying I enjoyed both FCS semifinal games more than the CFP first round? Shout out to the Montana State Bobcats and Illinois State Redbirds."
Absolutely. Good games. I mean, the good atmosphere, I guess, is probably a better way. But look, I think that is as entertaining in its purest form, certainly as a couple of the games were this past weekend.
Daniel Gygax is in the house. He says, "Hey,
Hey, Daniel.
everyone. Good to see you, Daniel. Daniel got the new short. I haven't even watched it yet, but I got to edit it and put it up. So keep an eye out for that. Stormy Cyclones in the house. Does Ohio State fumble against Miami, or does Miami get frostbit? Tune in to find out. Well, hopefully it's not nearly as windy as it was during that game.
Yeah, for sure.
Because neither one of us, I think, have good enough kickers to handle that.
I don't think Miami's kicker has been pretty much lights out all season. It was a lot rougher than you can than a lot of people thought. Even when they showed the flagpoles, there's a video going on around out there, and I should have saved it to show where when you're looking, you can see the top of the wind, the goalpost. The wind is going this way, but behind it, lower, the wind is going that way.
Crosswind.
definitely crosswinds in a stadium, but it's rare that happens between 40 feet.
Bob Swanger's in the house. He says, "Hey everyone, good to see you, Bob."
Penn State fans are sitting back going, "Our coaching search wasn't that bad, Michigan. How about you?"
And we'll talk about that too. There could be another blue blood job opening up. Oregon is not winning the Orange Bowl. They won't score more than 17 points against Texas Tech. I'm going to have to disagree with you there.
I have no idea who's going to win that game, but I don't believe that. And look,
I don't believe
if you say they only score 17, then maybe Texas Tech did 20, but I don't think there's going to be a blowout in that game. I would be surprised. Though Oregon, admittedly with their backups, but their backups are still pretty much higher recruited than most of JMU's backups. Definitely, should not have let JMU outscore them in the second half, regardless if it was 1 versus 2s.
I hear you, but at the same time, why chance an injury? You're playing for a national champion. They'd already won the first round game. And kudos to the JMU players. They didn't quit. There's certain teams that quit before bowl season even started. So who knows? Marcus Williams says, I hate Ohio State, but I see an all Big Ten natty, Indiana or Oregon versus Ohio State, and Ohio State winning again. At least the SEC won't win again. I'm still saying whoever wins, and obviously Ohio State has to get past Miami first, but Ohio State, Georgia, man, I think that's going to determine who's the national champion.
I think Georgia versus somebody will determine the national champion.
Yes. Reed got exposed. He's not a good quarterback. Tamu thrived in the very bottom of the SEC. Okay, do you want to? We'll let you decide, Rock. Do you want to do the Texas A&M Miami matchup first? Or you want to talk a little bit about Alabama and Oklahoma?
Let's just do it in chronological order.
Okay. Alabama, Oklahoma. Oklahoma up 17-0. Completely shits the bed. Gives up 17 points in, I don't know, like 5 minutes. Completely loses momentum in the game. Never gets it back. Alabama rolls in Norman. It was funny. It was funny watching that game, and just that crowd was so into it, just so into it until. And once that momentum changed, man, the crowd was dead. They never got back up the rest of the night.
You know what I believe happened, Mowing? Because I watch all of you guys who do this conspiracy theory stuff on everything. I believe that freezing cold takes and message board geniuses did an NIL deal for the Oklahoma punter. And that was how they got the 17-point thing turned back around. Because I've never seen a punter muff it quite that specific way. And I feel bad for the kid.
I feel bad for the kid too, but it was kind of funny.
I'm not saying it wasn't funny, but I could still be empathetic even if I thought it was hilarious.
Sure. Empathy, but it was still funny. But
hilarious empathy. It's a new thing we're coining here tonight on Mowing After Dark.
Yeah, Alabama looked for the first quarter and a half like they just were going to get blown out. Like they didn't belong there. Like a lot of people had said, they didn't belong there. And no, they just came through. The defense locked down. The offense got a little bit of a running game going, which was surprising considering their main running backs were out. But hey, I think that was probably the best game of the weekend.
It was. I mean, it depends upon your point of view. I like games that are tight, but I like the drama of that complete and total turnaround of the game, right? And just the memes, and a lot of us were guilty. I mean, I was enjoying the whole 17-0 thing, and having old takes exposed for me too on social, because it would just lend itself to so much things. And the Michigan fans had a journey as well that night, which was entertaining in its own right. As the blowout began and they thought their coaching journey might end, only to see that it was probably going to get prolonged or take a different turn, as Kalen DeBoer, who has it, you could say what you want, Alabama doubters, but Kalen DeBoer against top 10 teams is pretty freaking epic, even if it didn't start that great.
Yeah, and especially traveling to Norman, playoff atmosphere, and they just absolutely took them out of the game. And it was very, very surprising, but I thought it was the best game of the weekend, but I will be honest with you, I bet the under. And of course, because I bet the under, it came in like 63 total points. The over under was like 41 and a half. I screwed myself.
How would you rate that the Bernard catch in your all-time catches?
It was good, and I like Jeremy Bernard, but I mean, best ever. No, I'm going to say best ever. I'm going to say
top
Marvin,
10.
Top 10. Top 10. I'd give it top 10. But I've seen a lot of great catches from Ohio State players over the years. So, having guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. and
For sure.
Jeremiah Smith that can just, one-hand it, and I know people are going to scream, "Oh, you're a homer," but I know Marvin Harrison hasn't done very well in the NFL, but that's not his fault entirely. The freaking narrative that ESPN spins about the SEC will fall on deaf ears if my prediction comes true, though.
I know which one you're talking about. There's at least one more victory in the cards for the SEC, though, just by definition. But
yeah.
If the rest of it comes true, boy, it's going to be a rough offseason on the SEC network.
Steve Moser says, I thought it was poorly played and BYU should have been in over both those teams. Yeah, I mean, we can keep making the argument who should have been in and over. I mean, Notre Dame fans were having a bipolar session on Friday night with that game. When it was 17-0, they were crowing nonstop that they should have been in it over Alabama. And then when Alabama switched the momentum and started winning, total meltdown.
Those are two very different things. Whether BYU should or should not have been in is a different argument than the outcome of these two teams playing on this specific day meant that they should have been in, right? Because, I mean, Texas and Arkansas put a lot of points up on Texas A&M, but it wasn't those two teams that specific day. The transitive property in college football doesn't really work. I think there's a very big argument that BYU should have been in the playoffs, and I understand those who have that. But how those two teams played, I think, has literally nothing to do with it, at least in my opinion.
I thought it was an entertaining game. I mean, to be honest with you, it was a game you could watch to the fourth quarter. There were certain other games that were just complete blowouts from the start. And, we'll talk about some of those games. Stephen Vitt says, if Indiana is for real, Bama will get their bell rung at the Rose Bowl. Why did I view Miami as an honorary big team versus A&M? LOL. Members only video coming out Tuesday, Marcus. I think it'll explain a lot of that. I took the over in the Miami game. Hey, Marcus, so did I, man. So did I. Don't feel bad. I took the over and the favorite in all those games. And, didn't win.
I don't remember what I did on the over-under, but I definitely took Miami straight up. The thing that screwed me up was that garbage time touchdown from JMU, or else I would have had an awesome parlay.
That's true.
That last one was a bad beat for me.
That was great for me because my parlay was already busted, so I was rooting for everybody else's parlay to bust too.
Awesome. That was your money for your Christmas present, though.
Canes are on their knees to get out of the ACC. I think a lot of teams are.
Yeah, we're not on our knees for anything. Shove it, man.
Jim Phillips is on his knees in South Bend, though.
Jim Phillips is on his knees. In South Bend is a more accurate description.
He is a throat goat.
Every time I hear that combination of words, I just can't keep a straight face.
Alabama made in-game adjustments, especially on defense, to win the game. Mateer was carving Alabama up in the first quarter. Then adjustments started coming. Yeah, they were doing good. Mateer was doing really good with the run game, quarterback run game. But there was one time there was one play where he had a guy wide open down the field, but he also could have just run for the first down. And he's like,
well, let me get the 3rd and 3 or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, let me get greedy and throw it for 4. It's like, dude, just pull it down and get the first down.
Guy should have caught the ball, though.
He should have.
I mean, it was a good. You can make an argument on the decision, but the ball was placed well enough for him to make that catch.
Stephen Vitt says Notre Dame is still crying like a champion today.
They are, but they're getting relegated. And to be clear, again, Notre Dame fans, you're not stuck in all of our heads. You're stuck in our algorithms. We can't get away from you because you keep crying. That's why you're getting responses, because even though the response rate is low, the tiers are so high that eventually you're going to say something completely inane that even those of us who are trying to resist taking another dunk on your tiers are just going to, take those shots. I'm personally going to probably hold off now because I'm just going to wait to see if your head coach takes a journey to New York and doesn't come back.
Yes, for those who don't know, Marcus Freeman is considered a top candidate for the New York Giants head coaching position. I wish Marcus all the best in New York. I think he can lead that franchise. He's got Ohio State in his blood. He'll be able to take Big Blue to another Super Bowl championship. Congratulations to Marcus Freeman. We all wish you well.
And Moen, what I heard, because I asked Moen AI, and Moen AI told me that Marcus Freeman was completely not going to leave. He said he'd done all this goodwill to change Notre Dame's image, and then he saw how embarrassing his fan base was, and he decided to go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I verified that fact with myself. Yeah, bro, I took Oregon to cover. What the fuck? A lot of people did.
Now, Marcus, you and me both, man.
Now, here's where Rock is a little bit wrong. I did seek out Notre Dame accounts during the game, because especially during the game we're going to talk about next, because they were having real meltdowns on the game that happened next. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Texas A&M
I use
versus
this all weekend for sure, still, just to keep it going.
Tears Bowl. Go Blue. There you go. I said go Blue, Marcus Williams, but I mean it for that, the Tears Bowl. Yeah. Texas A&M, University of Miami. 100,000 in Kyle Field. They were rocking. They were rolling. And when was the first point scored? I think it was the third quarter.
Third quarter was the first field goal that went through. It was 0-0 at halftime. A couple of missed field goals in the first half. Definitely not a scoring craziness. I have friends who were there for sure, and the wind was pretty damn bad for them. Some of them literally said it was like warm out, but it felt cold because the wind was so strong, wind burn, all that kind of crap. But yeah, definitely not a kicker's heaven day, nor a long passing game day for anybody with passes sailing. Even a strong arm would have had a challenge in that regard. So that definitely threw things off in the game. But the defenses also stood up. We could talk about bad offensive play. You got to give credit on both sides of the ball to what the defenses were able to do. Texas A&M on third down. The hype was real. That defense was stellar on third down, especially the third and medium and third and longs made it very difficult for Miami's offense for sure.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the play calling during the game, especially on the Texas A&M side. They kept doing these wide receiver screens, and I figured, okay, they're going to do this a couple times, get them out there, get things figured out, and then they're going to trick them. They didn't. They just ran that play 25 fucking times throughout this game, and they get 3 yards on it. Congratulations, you got 3 yards. But to me, it's like that never set anything up.
Yeah, I think both teams, and Miami definitely did this too, were a little bit too horizontal at times, and you just can't. Both those teams have a lot of team speed. It's very difficult to do that. Shannon Dawson was, I know he's claimed to have been working it for things they were seeing and to set up eventually what became the Mark Fletcher, third and fourth quarter rushing onslaught. But I thought he was a little bit too cute multiple times in there. I think they should have infused some of the things he did, but I think they went to that well one too many times. I will say, just to be fair, most Canes fans were sick of the hit the A gap, B gap all season long, but that was because it was almost done to death at the expense of some of the other weapons. But Texas A&M was clearly giving that up. It was open, right? And it shouldn't take Carson Beck. It's great that he did coming to the gap and saying we can do the duo. which was the formation and what they were trying to do out in front, running the ball up the middle, that unleashed Mark Fletcher towards the end of the game. It shouldn't take that long, but eventually, you don't have to worry about style points anymore. All you got to do is win by one in the playoff, and that's ultimately got what they needed to get done.
Yeah, definitely style points. I mean, that game probably had negative style points.
Unless you like defenses, then you can't sit there and say that Miami's defense wasn't like style points all over the place.
I'm saying they were good defenses, but I mean, when you're talking style points, you're talking offense,
Right, for sure.
And again, I don't understand the play calling philosophy of Colin Klein, what he was doing.
I think he was checking travel arrangements for.
Yeah, he was getting ready for the Kansas State job or something, because he ran that damn receiver screen 20 times and it never led to anything. I kept watching. I kept thinking, okay, he's tricking them. Eventually he's going to do something this is going to pay off. All these 3-yard wide receiver screens, and it never paid off. So I hate to admit it, I was a little bored with the game. I tuned out for a while. I watched a little bit. I think it was an FCS game. And then I tuned back in, and it was 3-3, and I was like, oh, okay, they've scored some points, and I kind of rewound it a little bit on the DVR and got caught back up before I went live. And then, Fletcher, they just ran the ball down their throat in the third and fourth quarter. A&M couldn't stop it, and they were able to score a touchdown, and that was the difference. Running the football was the difference. Good old-fashioned running the football.
Yeah, it wasn't as boring. Wouldn't be the word for me as a Canes fan, right? Because to me, that game was you're knowing that any single play could be the difference in that game. Once it got in the rhythm or the lack thereof in the first half, every single play. I muted the TV after Malachi Tony's fumble because I just thought it was done. As much as Miami's defense was playing, I just expected Texas A&M's weapons to eventually break through, and I didn't have confidence that Miami's offense would be able to come back and answer in front of that crowd with how ramped up it would be. So it was more, eating my fingernails off kind of game because you thought every play would go. But I understand if you're more casual about the teams involved that it didn't have the fireworks. There was a couple of the hardest hits I've seen in a football game in a long time in that game, including but not limited to the third down goal line, the second down play on the goal line when Toure knocked the ball loose, but also earlier when punt coverage, there was a hit from Miami, and I can't remember who was it. Concepcion was back.
Jesus. How did he hold on to that ball?
I have no idea how he held on to that ball, but he never caught another punt the rest of the game.
He got absolutely trucked on that play.
I mean, that was a completely clean hit. That was 0.1 second away from being a penalty.
From interference.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was the closest I think I've ever can recall a hit of that magnitude that was on this thin line of what would be interference versus completely. How did you time that?
And it's one of those things where I think everybody who was watching that game did a collective ooh, because it was just like kabam.
I got a headache just thinking about the hit.
Yeah, I was shocked he held on to it.
Amazing. I can't believe he held on to it. Like props to him for doing that. That was amazing concentration and just raw, repetition that did it.
Do we really want Notre Dame in the Big Ten? We do. It'd be nice to be able to beat up on them on an annual basis. They still haven't beat us since like 1936. So, other Gygax, why would anyone in their right mind coach either New Jersey football teams? It's a dumpster fire in East Rutherford. The Jets,
20 million reasons.
Yeah, the Jets, I can understand. The Giants have a spark of hope. Jackson Dart has played very well as a rookie. Cam Scatabo, the injury, before he got injured, he was doing very well.
He was doing great.
There's a lot of potential there in New York Giants land. Now, New York Jets, hey, Rock will tell you he's a Jets fan.
Yeah. I want to tell you how many complete games I've watched from the Jets so far this season. That would be a big ass 0. It's unwatchable football. I mean, I'm glad that they're slowly moving up the tankathon meter, but I don't think I have no faith in them to do anything right. So I've vicariously, secondarily started to just root for the Titans so I can watch Cam Ward, and maybe he'll be the quarterback I wish I always had as a Jets fan. That Woody Johnson's the worst owner in all of professional sports, in my opinion.
Save Mike Brown at Cincinnati.
Mike Brown has a longer history of doing. I'll give you not credit, a debit on that one.
Yeah, Mike Brown throws nickels around as if they were, manhole covers. So, Conundrum says Pat Fitzgerald stole the #1 special teams coach in the nation from Iowa City. A-hole. Should have paid him more. Should have paid him more, buddy. Can't tell you. Fuck Ohio State. Canes man Laz. Well,
tell them how you really feel, Laz.
Yeah. I mean, we've never lost a game to you. I completely understand where you're coming from. Laura Weiss, the lady of Lubbock, Texas, says that win yesterday happens on days that end with Y in Lubbock.
I've been lots of the parts of Texas, so I understand the winds. Certainly don't know the game conditions on every single game, but having landed in various airports for work there in the past, it's always been super fun landing on multiple airports in Texas.
Stephen Vitt says one point of having an effective offense is to be a little creative, not run almost the same play 20 to 30 times a game. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you're doing it to set something up, but you never set it up. You never executed what you were trying to set up.
Know what else helps in an effective offense? Not have your theoretically best offensive lineman tell a likely top 5, if the worst case top 10 defensive line pick, that he's not a big deal, as he would say, God bless him. And then let that one guy block a punt, have 3.5 sacks, multiple pressures.
He was the bane of their existence. There
Absolutely.
Troll grinding cheek clapper. Good to see you, buddy. All I can do is look at the silver lining after this year. Only 3 more years, and it'll have been 40 years since Notre Dame won a natty.
That's a long time. But one fact I didn't know until getting lined up is that, I know Texas A&M is longer. 1939. They're due. They're like the Cubs. They're due.
Did Sparty really get a $400 million donation to their NIL fund? I don't think it was just their NIL fund.
Their athletic department.
Athletic department. Yeah. So, look, they're investing in Lansing. You're going to have to invest. Kenny Dillingham got his new deal this weekend. If you didn't catch that,
proceeded to beg right after. But I love how honest he is.
Proceeded to come out and honestly say, "I need somebody in this town who can cut a $20 million check." And I can't believe that. I can't believe that I live in Phoenix and there's not anyone. Yeah. I like how Miami rallied around Tony after he fumbled. They did. They got the I forget the kid's name.
Well, Fletcher was there. It was a bunch of people. The thing about that, Moen, is the minute it happened, I was convinced that ESPN jinxed Miami, because in the week leading up, there was a story about how when Malachi Tony was a freshman in high school and he was playing against Ruben Bain's team, and Mark Fletcher was on Malachi Tony's team, Malachi Tony fumbled in like the title game or one of the playoff games. Ruben Bain recovered it. And that was what begot Malachi Tony becoming a dedicated guy in terms of practice, being first into the film, all the things in the jugs machine. So that was a story. It was out there. It was Bain talked about it with Andrea Adelson during his media availability. So then it happened, and all the Canes fans were like, "How the freak did this happen?" Like the exact thing that they talked about. Only for this time, it turned out more positively. Everyone went over to him. Fletcher went off right after that, and then Tony had his redemption moment.
Antoine Johnson says the Bidwells are the worst owners in the NFL. And then Two Masters correct. Mike Brown eats alone. He doesn't even pass the salt. Likewise, if there's any flies on Mike Brown, they're paying rent.
Oh, Lord. I don't know what to tell you there.
Marcus Williams says could be worse. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm continually and perpetually disappointed. I agree with the cat. Hey, I'm a Dallas fan too. It's been a tough go. LeVar Woods didn't leave for the catch. Fitz made him assistant head coach, and we already have one. Okay, well, can't blame Fitz for that. Fitz was smart. I live in Phoenix. There's a lot of money out here. Yeah, there's got to be somebody who can cut that, or put a stroke on the $20 million check, as Kenny Dillingham put it so eloquently.
Or just leave some money when you die. It's not like, there's fund the team afterwards.
Jerry Jones is what the fuck? Rock, why is it when you're on your own show, your stream is perfect, but when you're on here, I think I need my glasses on? Well, I do need them on, but still.
Literally no idea, man, if you're having issues, because it's the exact same setup other than I'm wearing glasses and have a different backdrop today. Same mic, same light, same camera, same streaming platform. No idea. Must be Mo.
Yeah, it's not me. My bit rate is fine, dude.
Yeah, my bit rate, it's literally the same. I have no idea.
Maybe it's your backdrop you're using. Maybe it's just too busy. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
When I think of Phoenix, I think big money, not snowbirds and Midwest retirees who like to golf. Sarcasm. Bob Thompson being one. The problem for ASU is a lot of the rich people in town are the new rich and not from that area. Ari has a lot of transplants, I think in Arizona, within loyalty to ASU. Without loyalty to ASU. Dexter K, good to see you. National media was ridiculous towards the G5 after the next round of realignment. They will do the same to the Big 12 and the ACC. Bengals didn't even pay to remove snow. No, that's true. They had people volunteer to remove snow at their stadium.
That's so pathetic.
That is the absolute truth. They didn't even have a cart, an injury cart, to take a guy off the field. I offered him my old gator because I was feeling bad for him. Rich Austin Moan, what's Big Wizard saying about Notre Dame? Tune in Tuesday. There's going to be a members only video, Rich, where I'm going to talk. I talked to the Big Ten Wizard and a couple other people, a guy at Universal. It should be interesting. You'll definitely want to check it out. Who's Michigan going to hire, Moen? Guy named Fuck If I Know.
If they were smart, my guess is it's either going to be that interim, the guy on staff, the big dude who was interim, Biff Poggi, or Kyle Whittingham. That's my two guesses at this point.
And I'm for the Kyle Whittingham one. And I'm not even a Michigan fan, but I like Kyle Whittingham, and I know he's kind of a stand-up guy. So I'd actually like to see him show up in Michigan for a 2 or 3 year stint and get that situation cleaned up. But we'll see. We might as well talk about it. Bill Black says, let the JV6 have their own playoffs.
I'm changing. I have different evolving views on that, but I think there's a better model, which is just they have access. If you're Boise State and you're in the top 12 like you were last year, then you're in, right? I know it's harder and harder as those teams get poached, but I think having them be considered FBS and having completely no access, but maybe you do something where if you're in the top 12 or whatever number it is, then you're in, regardless of which conference you're in, and there's simultaneously another playoff going on. Because I know I would watch it, but again, remember, those conferences are getting a check of about $8 million per team-ish, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for the G6 teams, maybe a little bit less than that. I don't remember the number exactly, so somebody knows it offhand. And I know it's going up in the one that kicks in, I think, next year, where the Big Ten and the SEC have a bunch. But right now, the collective money that the G5, soon to be G6 again, conferences make from being associated with the college football playoff, which just means there's a baseline of money that goes to all of those conferences, regardless of whether or not they get a participant who then gets additional money for being in the field, is more than rumor has it they would have been offered for a dedicated G6 playoff system. So that's where the challenges are in a world where everybody needs more money, especially those programs that are getting poached, both for coaches and the stars that emerge every single season under the new model.
And a couple things. If you want to bitch about the G5, bitch at the ACC. If the ACC had some semblance of a rational tiebreaker system, this wouldn't even be a question. There wouldn't even be two G6 teams in there.
I don't know, but I guess that's only the question if you think that people are complaining about there being two teams in there. Last year, like, do you think? I think they still would have complained this year. Last year, there was a lot of borderline teams that most people thought had enough flaws that they weren't worthy enough to fight over and the 13th spot. But and Boise was a really good G5 team historically, or recently, especially, and had a history of doing things in New Year's type of bowls. But if it was just Tulane this year, if they were the highest ranked one, and they got beat by Ole Miss again the same way after playing them earlier in the season, I think we'd still be having at least some degree of the G6 conversation, right? And therefore, it wouldn't be an ACC only issue. The difference is last year, a lot of eyes got focused on Indiana as the example, right? Because they thought they played nobody, and Boise State was a really good team with a Heisman contending, running back on them. So I think it's a little bit more accentuated this year because of the ACC issue with the tiebreakers. But again, remember, if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna go back and double check. ACCs went down to their 5th tiebreaker. The other Power 4 conferences also have shitty ass tiebreakers for these kind of situations. They're all the same shitty, just ACC draw the Joker card.
Yes, but the ACC is like 2 girls, 1 cup shitty. They're really
all essentially the same. Only, to my knowledge, only the American and the Mountain West had like really intelligently thought out tiebreaker rules in an era where your teams don't all play each other, that were higher up than getting to the 5th or 6th thing or the 7th thing of a coin toss.
Here's my point, though, too. I want to put this in context. People were saying, I don't want to see blowouts.
Well, there were blowouts last year at Tennessee.
There were blowouts last year that didn't involve any G6 team. Ohio State blew out Tennessee.
You'll always be blown out to me.
Yeah. Oregon, the number 1 overall seed with the bye, got blown out by Ohio State. The final score looked a little closer because Ohio State let up on them, but at one point I think it was 31-0 at halftime, or getting ready to go into half. So I mean, and BB Murray brings up a great point. G5 SMU made the ACC title game in the first year. There's a lot of people from G5 schools or schools that were G5 not too long ago making this argument against the G5. If you're a Cincinnati fan, if you're a Houston fan, you have no business sitting there and saying, well, the G5 shouldn't have access. You are just a few years removed from being G5. SMU, same way. You're 1 year removed from being G5, 1 season removed. So I don't want to see blowouts as a dumb argument, because you're always going to have a blowout in the college football playoff.
So let me ask a question. Is Tennessee losing by 25 to Ohio State last year not a blowout? I just want to make sure I know what a blowout is. Well, since that's more than JMU got beat. Granted, a lot of the scoring was in garbage time. Ole Miss, all right, so it was a touchdown plus more. Is that a blowout? But Ohio State, Tennessee wasn't?
That's my point. And if we can even go back to the 4-team playoff, there were blowouts in the 4-team playoff. Ohio State lost 31-0 1 year to Clemson, and it was a year that Ohio State shouldn't even have been in the playoffs.
The average, we did this. I don't know what episode it was on. We went through this. The average margin of victory in the 4-team playoff era and the amount of blowouts was pretty much the same as we saw last year. And that's when you're only picking from among the top 4 or 5 teams in the argument over who was 4 versus 5. The semifinals and the 4-team playoff featured all the blowouts you can enjoy, short of going to a buffet of blowouts. Google it or ask Mo and AI.
Yeah. LC versus the Earth with the $5 super chat. Hey, Moen, after the Big Ten adds Miami and Georgia Tech, any chance we go to 10 conference games? Brother, there's a chance that, well, yes.
Notre Dame will fly out of your ass.
Yeah. I'll just say yes, but there's a chance that something way crazier than that. When shit gets weird, man. When shit gets weird, LC versus the Earth, and you will know it.
Moen's dropping that line again. It's been like 6 months since you said it, I think.
Well, shit may get weird. Maybe not right away, but shit may get weird. Thank you for the super chat, LC versus the Earth. I'll give you a little USC fight song. And I can't do Tusk because it is copywritten. There's been blowouts since the BCS was created. There's going to be blowouts every year. You're absolutely 100% right, Sean. Blowouts are a part of college football. In fact, James Madison, didn't they get blown out earlier this year by like the University of North Texas?
No, JMU only lost to Louisville this year. It was by 14.
Okay. Somebody lost to North Texas by like 40 points.
Was that? No, USF blew out North Texas, if I recall.
Okay. Somebody, who knows? I don't watch a lot of G6. I'll be 100% honest with you outside of Maction. I'm not going to blame 6G for being in the CFP. The problem is that G6 doesn't have the money to buy players and coaches. All the best G6 players and coaches will be in the Power 4 next year. This is true, too. Both of these programs technically lost their head coach. I know they were coaching in the game, but those players knew that that coach was not going to be there the day after that game.
Look, I give JMU credit. You know, they might have been playing against Oregon's mixes 1s, 2s, and 3s, but at least they didn't quit. So that's a credit to that program and that culture. Let's see if Billy Napier can keep it going. I think JMU deserved better, but anyway.
Yeah, let's be honest. Let's give some credit to the G6 for actually showing up. There were certain schools that could be playing BYU who couldn't be bothered to show up.
I don't know what you're possibly talking about, Mo. I mean, who could have done that?
Tears Bowl.
They're playing. Let's just keep that.
I would watch G6 playoff as well. So would a lot of other fans. You might have to play on Wednesday and Thursday. Again, if you guys want to come up with some solution, you would have to buy out the G6 from there. You can't just omit them from the playoffs without opening yourself up to antitrust violations.
And you know what? But I think regardless of how they go about it or they don't go about it, I think a lot of people will watch it'll be interesting to see what the FCS ratings were this weekend because several of those games were on ABC. And the other thing about it is, correct me if I'm wrong, Moen, but I believe the highest entry ticket price to get in, granted the capacities are smaller, was one of the FCS games with Montana State this week. It was
$629.
You could buy a ticket, the lowest get-in price for the other 4 games for less than the get-in price for that game.
Yes. That was the most desirable ticket available this weekend was the Montana State game. When you say shit's getting weird in my best Drewski voice, what you mean by that? I mean, shit's
do you know
weird.
Moen? You know how weird things have to get for shit to get weird by Moen's standings?
It's going to get weird, man. You're going to hear some people saying some shit that you might want to get ready for. Like, there's going to be people when shit gets weird are going to do this.
Oh, hell no!
That's definitely going to happen when shit gets weird. So would I. If ESPN Fox want their corporate dream, they can have it. You give G6 their playoff, you give us a reason to tune out the big boys. It's already hard enough to schedule regular college football playoff games where you're not interfering with NFL games that I don't know. Maybe schedule them. Yeah. Maybe schedule them for bowl season. You know what I mean? That week before Christmas, like on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, put one of them fucking games on. I'd watch it. If we go to a 2014 playoff with 4 EQs for each conference, I could see playing a FCS team at the end of fall camp and 12 conference games. Only change I would support would be a play-in game for the 12 seed. I think conferences should move towards playing.
Yeah, that makes more sense to me.
The best model is 24-team CFP, which gives hope to 80 programs and drives the most regular season eyeballs. And the CFP might have an extra blowout in the first round, but then you'd get the top 20 teams in. I disagree, Tom. I don't like the 2014 model. I think that's too many people. I think 16 is good. I've put it out there before, a 4-4-3-3-2 situation, all AQs with a relegation and promotion model. So let's say the ACC gets 3 AQs. After a 3-year period, they go back and look at the winning percentage, and it's not very high. They say to the ACC, okay, we're taking one away, giving it to, let's say the SEC has the best winning percentage. We're giving that to the SEC. It becomes a 5-4-3-2-2 model. And you can do that likewise for any conference. But I think the biggest problem with the college football playoff is the fact that there is a committee. There is no set way of determining it. It is an eyeball test, regardless of what they say about facts and figures. This comes down to
Clearly don't pay attention to them.
They don't pay attention to them. It's 100% eyeball test. The best way to fix the college football playoff is get the committee out of the college football playoff. The only thing they should be doing is assigning a number. The conferences should decide who's getting into the playoff. The ACC will have their candidates they're putting in. The Big 12 will have their candidates they're putting in. Big 10 SEC will get to put their candidates in, and the G6 will get to put their candidates in.
My only issue with any of these things is that if you're watching this show, you pay attention to all of these details. But if you want the ratings and all the revenue that you think you deserve by doing these things, college football needs to stop being so freaking complicated and annoying and run by a bunch of idiots. And if casual fans can't think about what they're going to be tuning into at the times they decide to get interested in, you're not going to reach things if nobody can understand it and explain it without needing to ask ChatGPT to write a freaking whole PDF for you.
Go Black 45 says once the next round of realignment happens, the SEC, Big 12, Big 10 will have almost 90% of the CFB viewing public. The networks will be fine. Tune into my video on Tuesday, Go Black 45, because I will be talking about media consolidation and what that means for college football. That just means shit's weird every year. Well, shit is weird. Shit keeps getting weirder. I can't stop it. Somebody's cat is pissed off in the background. That is Rock's cat. Does not
no longer pissed off. It's been handled.
It's very much against a 12-team playoff.
You notice he started making sounds the minute I said the words Notre Dame. He's trained well.
Good cat. A playing game most years would be G6 versus last Power 4 team in. Yeah, but then you're going to have people saying it's unfair that team had to play an extra game. I was watching the Myrtle Beach Bowl, and the commentary, there's actually a Myrtle Beach Bowl, and the commentary was saying this is the first MAC champion that also won a bowl game. Is that true? And I didn't think it was going to be a blowout. Could not tell you.
No idea. It sounds hard to believe that MAC champions, however they've been determined, whether it was in conference championship games or by standings in previous years, never won a bowl game. Maybe they mean since they initiated the MAC championship game. I do not know the answer to that question, Buckshot Kid.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know either. Got to have at least 20 to drive regular season attention to create added revenue for everyone in the rev share era. Business is business. You're going to drive regular season attention when you have a postseason that's within your conference. When you're going to have people trying to get to number 6 because you have a 3 versus 6 playing game. Or a 4 versus 5 playing game. You guys that are crying about blowouts, just wait until there's a 2014 playoff. Shouldn't have moved past 8, in my opinion. I was of the same opinion last year, Sean. Should never have moved past 8 till I saw the 12-team playoff, and I actually do enjoy the 12-team format.
Yeah, and I think everybody who thinks we should only have 4 or 8 is like, I get it, but it's still the least amount of teams in a playoff in any sport in America by percentage, and it's not even close. Major sports, pro or college.
I want a G6 playoffs, more meaningful football games than a lot of these bowl games. 100% there.
Remember, all the games we're seeing right now, the vast majority of them, before we get to the names you actually remember, are actually completely owned by ESPN. They're just sound stages at this point. They're programming sound stages, which is why no one's in the crowd, and they probably don't care because ESPN owns it, and it's just literally a stage show for them to produce content.
Yeah, BB Murr is saying that Ohio won the MAC last year. That's true, and then they beat Jacksonville State in the Cure Bowl. So, that fact is apparently not accurate at all. But if you got it from ESPN, I am not stunned.
Yes, I had somebody try to tell me that my assessment on a quarterback from one of these games, I couldn't be right because or I was completely blind and couldn't be right because the ESPN announcers were saying he could win a Heisman in 2 years. Like, they're the crew assigned to the where the hell is that bowl, and I don't know where that is, USA. Sorry if I don't think they're necessarily the biggest experts in the world. Not that I am either, but just to be clear.
Yeah, me either. Moen, what do you think about TKO by AEW? How about TKO by AEW? I'm not sure what you're trying to tell me here, Nathan. Are you saying that TKO buying AEW out? I don't know.
I mean, you don't know why they would.
I don't know why they would do that, but there's another terrible owner of an NFL franchise.
Simone, I would have thought that TKO would by AEW actually meant like some hard alcohol version of A&W root beer. I would have no idea.
I think I understand what he's trying to say. How about TKO buying AEW? Well, I don't think AEW is for sale, but AEW might be in trouble depending on what happens with the Warner Brothers stuff. So, we got that. What would conference play-in game start? Would it add an extra game before the conference championship game? It'd be championship weekend.
I don't think there would be a conference championship game anymore. They would just win.
No, you would. They would just, the conference championship game would have guaranteed, you'd be guaranteed into the playoffs if you're playing in the conference championship game. And then you would have a 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. Now you could say, well, that's unfair to the 3, but I don't know. It adds some drama. It adds regular season. You got people climbing. It lets you get the hot teams in.
Yeah, and look, NBA already did that. They've already gone through that. It's not fair to the 7 and 8 seed thing, right? They did that with the play-ins.
Sean says the G5 is going to get a seat at the table every year until something is created for them. They absolutely will. They legally have to. What do you guys think the CFP will end up with as a format for next year?
I think it's going to be 16 teams because all of the conference's members in the Power 4 are freaking losing their minds over how their commissioner signed a memorandum of understanding that we get Notre Dame in, and if they're in a 12 and 14 team, and if the reporting is correct, that memorandum of understanding that guarantees them a spot, even if they're at number 12, and they wouldn't get booted, and a number 10 Alabama could get booted, or a number 10 Oregon could get booted because Notre Dame is guaranteed and they got to make an accommodation. I think they would probably go to 16 just to make sure that MLU doesn't exist anymore.
I think the format next year will still be 12, but I think it will change the following year. But just so you guys know, whatever format we get, it's only last until 2029, 2030.
Right.
At that point, it is getting blown up. There's going to be expansion. There's going to be consolidation, not just among college football, but among media partners, guys. You've got Paramount, who tried a hostile takeover of Warner Brothers. Netflix is buying Warner Brothers. You've got Amazon Prime bidding for the Big Ten championship game. You've potentially got YouTube TV entering the fray of athletics. It's going to be completely different in 2030. So whatever happens in the next 2 to 3 years, don't get too attached to it because it's going to be different.
Moan, I know we brought this up earlier on a different show where you guys talked about it on Big Freaking Friday or whatever show. Can you, since you pay attention to the Big Ten more, what's the thought other than, of course, money? But why would NBC want to get rid of their only like championship game for the Big Ten to Amazon? Is it that they're not making money on the rest of their programs with the Big Ten deal, so they want to make money to offset the cost? Like, it seems weird that they would want what's the only conference championship game they get to sell it.
They want the money, and there's a reason they want the money. Universal is not as financially sound as it was last year. Losing WWE to ESPN has significantly hurt the Peacock app. It has significantly hurt the churn numbers on Peacock. They did not get nearly as many subscriptions on Black Friday as they normally do. So they're down. They to them, the money, upfront money might be a little better. Jackson Johnson's in the house, says, "What's up, CFB Mafia Nation?"
What's going on, Jackson? Y'all got to go subscribe to Jackson's actual channel, Jackson.Johnson979. He gets a lot of really good guests on there, a lot of great content. Does his voice of college football stuff for Alabama, helps this channel out a lot, but you should definitely go check out his channel as well.
Netflix is going to get college football with Warner Brothers wanting Netflix to be the new owner. If Netflix is getting NFL and MLB, they sure as hell will get their hands on CFB TV contracts. You want to keep this in mind, though, Jackson. They are only going after Warner Brothers. They are not going after TNT. They are not going after TBS. Those will be cut off and sold separately. So Turner Sports will still exist as Turner Sports. TNT will still exist. TBS will still exist. They will not be owned by Netflix. Same is true with CNN.
Yeah, that was a different part of the deal versus what Paramount was going to do, which was to buy all of it.
Paramount was going to do a hostile takeover to buy all of it. They could not do that. With an increasing number of big media players come 2030, you have to have more CFP teams than 16 to capitalize on the added bidders and respective time slots / spectrum. Stay tuned, Tom Dubay. That's all I can tell you is stay tuned.
There's not necessarily an increasing number of big media players. Depending upon how everything plays out, there could be a decreasing number of big media players with some of them bigger.
Here's the important thing to capitalize, and I don't want to get on it too much because I do want to save some of it for the members in the video, but sports sells. Sports is going to continue to sell. Sports are going to sell, and there's going to be bidders for it, and there's going to be buyers for it, and people are going to overpay for it.
It's the only appointment viewing in America, and it's the one that more people are willing to pay a premium for relative to movie content.
Right. Absolutely. Everything else you can watch on demand and you don't care. But you got to think about it this way. Amazon was ready to pay more for that 3:30 game from the Big Ten than CBS was. The Big Ten chose to go with CBS because they wanted more a broader showcase for their talent. But Amazon Prime was willing to overpay for it. You think Amazon Prime won't be willing to overpay come 2030 when there's additional content, when you add teams 19, 20, potentially 21, 22, 23, 24 to the Big Ten? You think that ESPN's getting away with underpaying the SEC when they add markets like North Carolina and Virginia, maybe a Kansas?
It's a loss leader for Amazon. It's a throughput to other things they're going to do. It's why certain things are cheaper at Walmart than they are at your supermarket, because they know you're going to buy a lot of other stuff once you get there.
CFB Mafia needs more super chats so we can bid on conference games too. As long as we can bid on the MAC championship game, I'm fine with it, Becky. But thank you for the super chat. We will let her cook.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
I don't have a let her cook sound effect. Sorry, Becky. But thank you for the super chat. Did you see the CNBC athletic department valuation? The Big and the SEC had like 32 of the first 36 spots. And then go through some of those spots that are closer to 36 through 48, and you're going to see a lot of them are expansion candidates.
Yeah, you also have to also need to remember in those that would change fundamentally when certain teams got into either the Big Ten or SEC, because they have a fundamental gap of anywhere from 20, depending upon what year, right? Because the contracts keep changing, anywhere from $20 to $50 million over the next 3 to 4 years difference in annual revenue just from the media slot. So when you see things like Florida State and Miami, I know are right next to each other in the top 30. That's with having a crappy ass ACC contract in their valuation, as opposed to what would happen if either school were in the Big Ten or SEC, as a specific example, especially when you get towards the latter part of each of those media deals where the rights figures are up higher.
Well, not only that, but I mean, you've got to realize that even at a half share for someone like Miami, they'd be making more in the Big Ten than they do currently in the ACC.
Not at a half share this year, half share in like 2029, yes. Because Miami is going to keep all of their money from the playoff, right? It's because of the success initiatives and the TV ones that you need for the gap in as the Big Ten rights escalate, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be significantly different in a few more years, right? Because that Big Ten deal definitely goes up a lot. It's like north of $100 million a year as we get towards the end of it, if I recall. But the ACC mitigated some of that with the success initiatives and the media rights initiatives. Like, Miami is basically keeping $8 million now for themselves. Plus, they already get the travel fees for being in the playoff to help offset things a bit more.
Absolutely. Should be interesting. But yeah, I saw the valuation list. Texas is number 1. Ohio State is number 2. They're always going to be able to debate, how they came up with their figures. But very interesting to see. You're right. 32 out of the 36 are SEC Big Ten teams. It makes you wonder what happens if shit gets weird. And speaking of which, shit getting weird, I just gifted 10 more memberships because I want more people to see this video I've got coming up on Tuesday. That went to Daniel Gorby, the Mad Hatter, Papacade, DVB Thorne, Aaron Wilson, David Kreitzer, Steven, Rufus Michael, the Average Joe. This is an Efrain Scobetto. I hope I said that right. I apologize if I didn't. You're all members of the College Football Mafia. Merry Christmas to you and happy holidays to you and your family. Definitely check out our member-only content. I think you will enjoy it. Definitely going to be some good stuff on Tuesday. Probably about 8 to 15-minute video. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff in that. Talk to the Big Ten Wizard. Talk to a guy from NBC Universal's Olympic sports side. So definitely some interesting information. I think you guys will enjoy it.
Hey, Mo, just on that number on the evaluations, it's not quite that good for the Big Ten and SEC. It's still really good, but to be accurate, there's, I believe, 7 teams in the top 34 that are ACC or ACC adjacent. You got Notre Dame at number 6. You got Clemson at number 18. You got Stanford at 23. You have Florida State at 28. That's the 4th one. Miami's at 29. That's the 5th one. You got Duke at 33 and UNC Chapel Hill at 36. So there are 7 ACC teams in the top 36.
And all 7 of those teams have been mentioned as expansion candidates.
And technically Notre Dame, I know is football independent, but
right.
ACC
Sure.
adjacent.
But
It's still a lot for the SEC and the Big Ten. But I just, I guess what's the question is, what's the first Big 12 one we see? University of Kansas, maybe at 39.
I think Kansas would have to be.
And then it's Virginia's only 40, Oklahoma State 41. There's a bunch of Big 12 schools when you hit 39.
Moen, how long do those videos normally stay a member only? It depends. Some videos just permanently stay member only, Nathan. We try and give we do appreciate all the people who are members here and who gift memberships to people here. So we try and provide an incentive for them, and that's why these Moen Confidential videos come out every 2 weeks. Sometimes we'll do member-only streams as well throughout the year to add incentives to those things. So we do appreciate our members, and sometimes they become public. Sometimes they just stay members only. All right. I have got an early morning, so we're going to do our last call right now. I think we didn't really talk too much about the G6 games, but I don't think there's a lot of the G6 games we really need to discuss other than Oregon. Oregon failed to cover.
Yes. Oregon cost people millions of dollars, but gave others millions of dollars. It just depends upon what side of the glass. And the only thing they definitely did was Vegas made money.
Okay, there we go. All right, you wanna let's do our last call. What's your last call for the evening? Playoff winner, Miami fan, rock and rant of CFB Express.
I'm playing with house money now. Of course, I want Miami to beat Ohio State, but I will say it was cathartic moment to actually win a freaking playoff game and get into the playoffs after 20 years of walking around like college football Moses in a desert of 7 and 5 on average seasons. So I was surprised at how I felt at the moment that interception happened. Looking forward to everyone shutting up about business, complaining about the G6. And remember, we're in theoretically one of the best times of college football season, starting the next several weeks with bowl games that have potential to be good, where some teams are actually trying to play hard in them. I think BYU and Georgia Tech will be an example, and we'll be meeting again before we see that game. And I'm definitely looking up to get a little fierce with Moen next week on this one. And we'll be getting into the Miami, Ohio State among all the other playoff games. But it would be great. And that goes to the powers that be, too. Stop dunking on your own sport. Enjoy your own sport in one of the best times of year. Have a little holiday grace, and let's watch some college football.
Absolutely. My last call is Zephyr Z Hats, the game. I love your hats. I buy them all the time. I get it. Retro green bill. Can we stop with this? Make it red, make it black. I hate the retro green bill on the underside. You've got the top is black. Make the bottom black. Thank you. Please.
Or you guys can send Moen a blue screen for his wall.
Or send me a blue screen. Or just do it for my hats alone. Just specially dye and stitch together one hat for some asshole on YouTube. If you guys could do that, that would be great. I'm with Rock. Just enjoy the season, guys. Enjoy college football. First round, it was a little bit of a letdown, but second round looks like it's about to be fire.
Great stories everywhere.
Great storylines, great slate of games, great players out there. It should be awesome. Tomorrow you will have a short video from Daniel Gygax released. On Tuesday, I will have that members only video. And I believe Nate is doing a Tuesday stream as well. And that'll probably close it out for us for this week for the holiday season. So I want to say, since I will not see you before then, Rock, have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well, and Festivus for those, and Kwanzaa for those, and hope everyone who just wrapped up Hanukkah had a good one. And if there's some other pagan holiday that I don't know about, but you celebrate in the next 7 days, enjoy that as well.
Absolutely. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all our fans watching too as well. Appreciate you making Moen After Dark one of the more popular shows here on the channel. It does mean a lot to me. And we'll see you guys next Sunday, where we'll have a little bit of heated rivalry going on. So
it's time. It's war.
Until then, love this time. Love your family. Peace out. We will catch you next week.